The UFC built its empire on controlled violence and discipline, but some fighters have crossed the line, turning the octagon into a scene of chaos or tarnishing the promotion's image with their actions outside the cage. Strikes after the bell, assaults on referees, repeated anti-doping violations, violent crimes. The reasons for being banned are many. Dana White doesn't forgive certain transgressions, especially when they threaten the credibility of his organization. Here's the story of fighters banned from the UFC, their offenses, and the consequences that shattered their careers in the world's biggest MMA promotion. Paul Semtex Daly was one of the UK's rising stars when he signed with the UFC. On May 8, 2010, at UFC 113, he faced Josh Koscheck in a welterweight title eliminator fight. The winner was set to face Georges St-Pierre. Koscheck dominated the fight with his wrestling skills, completely neutralizing Daly's strikes for 3 rounds. At the end of the third and final round, Daly completely lost control. When Koscheck turned around, Daly came up behind him and tried to punch him in the face with a left hook. Dana White considered this act unforgivable and immediately fired him, banning him for life from the UFC. This marked the end of the UFC career after only 3 professional fights for one of the most talented and highly regarded British strikers of the time. March 8, 2014, UFC Fight Night 38. Jason High faces off against Rafael Dos Anjos. In the second round, Dos Anjos dominated, hitting Jason against the cage. Referee Kevin Mulhall stops the fight by TKO. Jason explodes in rage, believing that Donjos hit him on the back of the head. In his anger, he violently shoves referee Mulhall, an unforgivable act in professional MMA. Despite a public apology on Twitter, Dana White immediately fired him. It's an absolute rule. You never touch a referee. Jason learned this the hard way, his UFC career ending in a moment of madness. Rosamar Palhares was a submission specialist, but with a terrifying reputation. He never let go of his holds, even after his opponents tapped out. In 2013, against Mike Pierce, he gave another demonstration how dangerous he was. Pierce tapped both physically and verbally to a heel hook after 31 seconds. Palhares kept squeezing, refusing to let go despite the obvious submission. The referee had to force him to release Pierce. The UFC launched a full investigation. The verdict? Palhares was deemed too dangerous for the safety of other fighters, fired for deliberately endangering his opponents. Matt Riddle, future professional wrestling superstar, started his MMA career in the UFC with a promising record, but his issues with cannabis cost him his spot. First positive test after UFC 149. His win over Chris Clement was overturned. February 2013, another violation after his win over Shea Mills. Second positive cannabis test in less than a year. The UFC enforces its anti-doping policy. Riddle is released. Double violation, double penalty. His MMA career ends prematurely, but he finds success in professional wrestling. In 2014, Thiago Silva is accused of pointing a gun at his ex-wife in Florida, threatening her. The UFC suspends him immediately. All of the charges have been dropped, and Silva is reinstated. But a few months later, a video surfaces. Silva's holding a gun, accusing his wife of harboring another man. The UFC fires him for good. Domestic violence remains an absolute red line for the promotion. Silva would never again make a return to the legendary UFC octagon. Ruslan Magomedov racks up anti-doping violations like others rack up wins. In 2016, he tested positive for a selective androgen receptor modulator, a substance used to increase muscle mass. October 2018, a second violation with 2 steroid metabolites detected. February 2019, he refuses to provide a sample during a USADA test, a triple, unforgivable offense. USADA hands him a lifetime ban and a UFC career for the Russian, a victim of his own doping choices. No possible comeback, no second chance. May 2014, Wanderlei Silva dodges an NSAC drug test at his Las Vegas gym. The Brazilian literally runs from the testers, refusing to give his samples. He later admits to having taken diuretics. The NSAC hands him a lifetime ban. Silva announces his retirement a few days later. In May 2015, his ban is lifted, allowing him to fight again. But Silva then publicly attacks the UFC, comparing the fights to a circus. He apologizes a few months later, but it's too late. The UFC releases him for good. In 2008, John Koppenhaver, also known as War Machine, refused a fight offered by the UFC and made controversial remarks about Evan Tanner, a former UFC fighter who lost his life in the desert. He publicly speculated that Tanner had chosen to end his own life, despite medical findings to the contrary. The UFC fired him for creating unnecessary controversy around the tragic death of a respected fighter. But War Machine's story turned into a nightmare much later. In 2014, he assaulted his ex-girlfriend, adult film actress Christy Mack, and was sentenced to life in prison in 2017. From UFC fighter to convicted criminal, a rapid fall. BJ Penn, an absolute MMA legend, ended his career on a streak of 7 consecutive losses. In 2019, TMZ video showed him fighting in the streets of Hawaii in front of the Lava Shack bar. Penn traded blows with a stranger, landed a few strikes before witnesses intervened. The second video shows him getting knocked out by the same person. The UFC, already looking for an excuse to release the aging legend, seized the opportunity. Dana White fired him immediately. An unworthy end to the career of one of the greatest champions in UFC history. From legend to street fighter, a tragic fall. January 2021, UFC 257. Othman Azaitar was supposed to face Matt Frevola. But on weigh-in day, a shocking revelation. The Moroccan fighter violated the UFC Bubble's COVID protocols in Abu Dhabi. In a scene straight out of an action movie, Azaitar and his team cut off their security bracelets and gave them to someone outside. This person climbs 4 balconies, enters Azaitar's room, drops off a mysterious bag, and leaves. Security uncovers the scheme. Dana White fires Azaitar on the spot. His manager, Ali Abdelaziz, negotiates his reinstatement later, but the damage is done. Taking risks during the pandemic is unforgivable. April 19, 2008, UFC 83 in Montreal. Caleb Starnes, a Canadian fighter in front of his home crowd, faces Nate Quarry. Starnes comes in with a mediocre record, just 1 win in his last 3 fights. But fighting at home should motivate him. The fight begins. Starnes immediately backs up. Quarry moves forward. Starnes backs away. For 3 full rounds, the Canadian refuses to engage, literally running around the octagon to escape his opponent. The most memorable image from UFC 83, Caleb Starnes running away from Nate Quarry. The UFC fired Starnes immediately after this shameful performance. Later, Starnes would say he would do exactly the same thing again. No regrets, no shame. His UFC career ends with one of the most embarrassing performances in the promotion's history. These exclusions show the boundaries that must not be crossed in modern UFC. Dana White and his promotion have built an empire on respectability and discipline. Touching a referee, violating the anti-doping code, committing crimes, or endangering safety. Some actions are unforgivable. Some deserve their punishment. Others seem disproportionate. But the UFC enforces its rules regardless of rank or fame. In professional MMA, talent alone isn't enough. You also have to know how to respect the boundaries, or risk seeing your career collapse in a matter of seconds. Please don't forget to take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a thoughtful comment below, and share it with other martial arts enthusiasts. This helps the YouTube algorithm recognize that our videos truly matter on the platform. To support the channel even more, join our members club and get access to a variety of exclusive members-only content. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.